90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. More information is at farmbureauadvantage.com.
Would you like to put your business in front of rural America and the ag community every week? We have sponsorship opportunities available that will do just that. Contact us to find out how you can milk it for all it's worth.
Hi everybody, welcome to Virginia Farming. I'm Amy Roscher. This week we travel to Nelson County and visit Ula Tortilla Company and learn how they use an ancient process to make their corn tortillas. Then Chris Mullins shows us how to grow greenhouse tomatoes from the ground up. We'll also have the Ag Calendar, a Minute in the Field video, and of course your Ag News of the Week, all on this edition of Virginia Farming. The Commonwealth's only urban cidery, Blue Bee Cider, will relocate and expand in the city of Richmond. The company will invest more than $1 million to renovate the historic City Stables property in Scott's Addition and triple production of its award-winning hard cider, creating 4 new jobs. The company will also expand its existing orchard, bringing agriculture back to Richmond. In addition, Blue Bee will purchase more than 850,000 pounds of Virginia-grown apples and berries over the next 3 years. Established in 2012 in the Manchester area of Richmond, Blue Bee Cider has been producing hard cider using a variety of heirloom apples. The expansion will enable the company to triple its production of hard cider to over 100,000 bottles per year. Blue Bee will receive a $50,000 grant from the APHID fund to assist with the project, which the city of Richmond is matching with local funds. Well, since Virginia launched its Resource Management Plan program in July of 2014, 278 plans have been developed for farms in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. That's pretty amazing since the goal of only 40 plans was set for the first year. The voluntary program was created to help meet Chesapeake Bay cleanup goals and enables farmers to have a private sector plan developed for their property, incorporating practices that reduce pollution to local waters and protect soil health. Once a plan is approved and its practices implemented, a farm is deemed to be in compliance with state nutrient and sediment standards for the next 9 years. The 278 plans that have been developed cover more than 48,000 acres in the Bay watershed. Landowners who want more information on the RMP program can visit the web address on your screen or contact any Soil and Water Conservation District office. Well, southwestern Virginia is known for its scenic vistas and American roots music, but Norm Hyde reports that area farmers are also building businesses in this remote part of the state.
The term entrepreneur conjures up an image of someone starting a software company in Silicon Valley, not a retired Marine with the dream of becoming a goat farmer, but that's exactly who has succeeded in creating a successful business from a ridge high in the remote mountains of Lee County.
We started this, it wasn't intended to really be a business. We started with a garden plot. We had too many vegetables. We took some to the farmer's market. I was kind of like, I like this. This is neat.
Joe Bates began what could be called a gentleman's farm, but that quickly turned into a business.
We had goals of getting a decent-sized herd going, breeding them, building up enough so where we could eventually go in and get a farm loan to build up as a dairy. But we didn't think about the whole process in between and how much milk we were going to end up with.
That excess milk turned into a product that's very much in demand. The Bates family farm, old-fashioned soaps and lotions made from the same milk that had previously been discarded. Bates and his wife took a class on how to make goat's milk soap, and it's become very popular. He started by selling at the local farmers market.
Just, that's neat, it's something local, it's old-fashioned fat and lye. And then all of a sudden they were coming back. And they were bringing friends, and people were coming to us saying, my cousin used your soap and told me all about this.
And they told their friends and family, and so on, until it was time for Bates to take some classes about how to be an entrepreneur. With the help of programs offered in Southwest Virginia for starting a small business, he's on the fast track for success.
We've got 17 retail outlets throughout Southwest Virginia and over the line in Tennessee. Tennessee. We have one over in Middlesboro, Kentucky, and we also have one in Pigeon Forge.
A loan from the Lee County Industrial Development Authority will assist in hiring, updating equipment, and keeping his operation growing, something that kind of happens naturally on a farm. In Lee County, I'm Norm Hyde reporting.
Thanks, Norm. Well, something else that happens naturally is cold winters, and that cold is tough on honeybees. Cold weather means no pollen for food, and hives can starve to death while pest and disease problems are amplified. In recent winters, about 1/3 of all Virginia bee colonies have not survived. Virginia State apiarist Keith Tigner is hoping his research on greenhouse bee farming could make a difference for many hives. He says that honeybees are temperature sensitive, and the growth of the colony is based on the warmth of the area around them. Tigner has been studying about 24 honeybee hives at Virginia State University. Some are wrapped in foam insulation and some in fiberglass battens like in a home attic. Some are housed in high tunnels, which are unheated structures similar to greenhouses. He's testing to see which methods, if any, help the hives to stay warmer in winter. So far, the ones in high tunnels are doing well, he said, but there will be several winters of experiments and studies before he has hard data to share with other Virginia beekeepers. Corn tortillas, not something that you might expect to be made in Virginia, but they are. Today we'll take you to Ula Tortilla Company. They were making blue corn tortillas when we were there, and we'll share their story straight ahead on Ag Insights. Today we're in Afton, Virginia. We're visiting Ula Tortilla Company, and I'm joined by owner James Price. James, thank you so much for having us out today.
You're welcome.
So give us a little bit of history about Ula Tortilla. How long have you guys been in existence?
We started about 3 years ago. We started grinding our own corn from hand and pressing our own tortillas by hand and selling at our local farmers market that's just a few miles up the road here.
Okay. And since then, what's happened?
Step by step, we've constantly grown from, making about 20 packs of tortillas in a week to about making more like 50 cases of 24 tortillas in a week.
Wow. So your demand grew
Yeah.
from that farmer's market.
Yep.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the company. Number one, where did you get the name? What does Ula stand for?
Well, Ula is our three kids, Uriah, Lavisa, and Asorum. And that was my wife Stephanie's. She came up with the name. I mean, she's a mother, and that's her inspiration. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the corn. All your tortillas are corn tortillas. They're not flour tortillas.
Yeah,
correct?
we only use 100% organic corn, and we don't add any fillers or preservatives or any other grains to it.
Okay. So when we were talking a little earlier, you told me that originally you guys had used, your source of corn was from Virginia.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
that kind of stopped. Tell me the story behind that.
Well, we got all of our corn just from local farmers originally, and that's how we started, and that is what, where our heart was, to use local grown corn. But as we expanded it and got bigger in the need, we needed corn that was just already cleaned enough just to food grade standards, because most of the corn that we got originally was from farmers who mostly grew organic corn for feed. And so the corn had to be sifted of little bits of broken pieces of corn and the occasional piece of corn cob and that kind of stuff. And that was really labor intensive. And as we grew, I couldn't keep up with the work that it took to get the corn up to the standards that we needed it to be.
Right.
So we had to just start buying corn from the Midwest. Still, we're sticking with organic, but it comes clean right out of the bag, ready to go.
And most of that's because we just don't have a lot of organic corn producers.
Yeah, there's
here
not
locally.
There's not that many, and on top of it, there's a few other requirements that it needs to be. The corn needs to be finished dried by fan and not roasted, and we need it to be to the point where it's clean and free of debris, and it can't have a lot of pieces of cracked corn or small bits of broken up corn in it, or it doesn't work right for us. And so.
Now, is that due to the process that you guys use?
Yeah, if it has a lot of if there's a lot of stress cracks or little pieces of corn in there that aren't cleaned out, then the corn just absorbs too much of the lime, which is part of what makes our process unique with the making traditional corn tortillas.
Okay, so tell us about that process.
Well, the process is called nixtamalization, and it's where we add hydrated lime, which is from limestone, not from the citrus fruit.
Okay.
It's also called slake lime or cal. We add a solution of that to our corn, which we cook in this large vat, and then let it steep overnight to absorb the lime. And this loosens the skin on the corn, and it also releases a lot of nutrients that are in corn but not available for us to digest unless the corn has been nixtamalized. And this is an ancient process that was started by people in Central and South America. The originators of the domesticators of corn discovered this process a long time ago, and so we're just continuing that tradition.
Okay. Now, you guys do different types of corn and you make different types of tortillas. Tell us about the kind that you make.
Well, basically, our two main things that we do are yellow corn, which is our biggest seller, and then we also do a blue corn tortilla. Occasionally, we also do white corn tortillas, but it's not something that we do a lot of right now. Yeah, the yellow is definitely the much more popular of the two, but the blue has a strong following of people that really appreciate it, and they are really different. The blue has a nuttier, a richer, nuttier taste, whereas the yellow has the stronger corn flavor.
So, a little earlier you're talking about labor and how some of cleaning the corn is labor intensive. How many people do you guys employ?
We have 3 people that work in the shop on a regular basis, and then we also have demo people in the Washington and Baltimore area that do demos in stores for us.
Okay.
We are in a lot of stores in that area in Baltimore and DC, and so we need somebody just demoing our product there in the store.
Okay. So can you walk us through the process of once you get your corn to when we would find it on the grocery shelf?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So the night before we begin making the tortillas, it starts with we cook typically about 200 to 300 pounds of corn in our vat, and so that is when we nixtamalize the corn, and then after it comes around to a boil, I shut it down and let it steep overnight.
Okay.
So then in the morning, typically about 4:30 a.m., come to the shop and I rinse that corn, and which rinses the hulls, the skin of the corn off, and then it goes into the grinder from there, which is it's a small floor model corn grinder, which is made specifically for this purpose, and the grinding mechanism is 2 volcanic stones that turn and grind the corn, and so
it's
it's
very
all done.
fine.
Yeah, well, it happens wet, and actually to feed it through, there's a trickle of water that is fed into the auger, which pulls the corn into the stones. So the whole thing is wet, so it already comes out the consistency of a dough. So there's no need to add anything else from there. I do actually, at that point, I add salt as I'm grinding. It's just the easiest place to add our salt in at that point. And then from there, after I have all the corn ground into masa, then our other employees will show up and I'll heat the machine up, and then we start feeding the masa into the machine and making tortillas.
Okay. So what is it that makes your tortillas taste different than what we might find on the store at the grocery, on the shelf of a regular grocery store?
Mostly the freshness of it, and the lack of adding preservatives or fillers. Any tortillas that you find on the shelf and out of refrigeration are full of preservatives, and that's just, you can't have corn tortillas be out of refrigeration and expect them to last very long.
Right. Well, that was my next question. Where we see these beautiful blue tortillas roll off of the conveyor belt, and they're packaged to be shipped out today. Do you keep them refrigerated?
Yeah, we keep them refrigerated. Actually,
Okay.
everything that was made today will be going out tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you keep it refrigerated. How long can you keep them?
Our shelf life is typically about 3 weeks.
Okay. Okay, so that's pretty long for something that doesn't have preservatives and everything in it. And so
yeah.
you
I
still
mean,
get
you think of it as a bread product, basically. I mean, which is what it is, but it is higher in moisture than like your average bread, so it has a tendency to grow mold if left out of the refrigeration. And
Right.
it's also has a lot more of its nutrition available for other things to eat, like mold, whereas like Masa Harina tortillas just don't have that. And it also freezes well too. Or a lot of the stores that we sell in freeze our tortillas, and then the shelf life is much longer, month as opposed to weeks. So
right. So today, how many tortillas do you process, say, in a week?
we do around 50 to 60 cases in a week, typically, varying. It varies week to week. We try not to overproduce, so we're not making a lot of waste or whatever. So we are constantly trying to predict the future of what we need for the following week,
Okay.
which is tricky.
But you mostly do made to order. You have orders come in, so you fill those orders then as you go.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So who's selling your tortillas now?
The majority of it's in Virginia, but we go as far as Philadelphia and New Jersey. We're in a lot of local stores around. We're in Friendly City Food Co-op in Harrisonburg. We're in the Great Value in Crozet. A handful. The one restaurant that we're in at the moment is Brazos in Charlottesville, a taco restaurant that uses our corn tortillas.
Okay. All right. So what are your plans for the future? Right now you're in, a fairly small shop. Are you going to stay that way, or do you have plans to expand?
Yeah, I mean, we've continually expanded at every chance we can, and we've pretty much got our shop filled. We've expanded as far as we can in the space that we're in. So, we are looking towards potentially getting a larger space and adding more equipment to our shop so we can produce more and get into more stores. And
Did you ever picture yourself here when you and your wife Stephanie were just making them on your own?
oh no, not at all. Yeah, we had no idea that it would come this far.
Are you enjoying it?
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It sure is. It's a lot of work.
So if our viewers would like more information on Ula Tortilla, where should they go?
They can check out our website at ulatortilla.com, or they can check out our Facebook page.
Okay. And at one of those two places, we can find where to purchase your product, right?
Yeah, there's a list on our website.
Okay. All right. So before we go, I have one question.
Okay.
What's your favorite way to eat your tortillas?
Oh, that's a hard thing to say because
They're very versatile, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, you can make tacos or quesadillas. You can fry them into chips, and I'd say enchiladas right now is my favorite way to have our
This week.
tortillas. Yeah, yeah. Our kids eat a lot of quesadillas, though. That's the quickest, easiest.
Absolutely, absolutely. James, thank you so much for having us out today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back. Tomato lovers can hardly wait until that red fruit ripens on the vine. Maybe the tomato season could last all year with the use of greenhouses. Chris Mullins has more on growing greenhouse tomatoes from the ground up.
Today we're in a large greenhouse. We're at Red Sun Farms in Dublin, Virginia, and I'm here with Mr. Jay Abbott. He is the General Manager, Director of Operations here at Red Sun. And obviously we're in a large greenhouse. We've got tomatoes here. Jay, I know your company, Red Sun, has greenhouses all over in Canada and Mexico and the United States. But what do you all do here in the Virginia operation?
Well, here in Virginia, we grow both organically and hydroponically. The organic is a 6-acre operation. We have 12 acres of hydroponic production or conventional production.
Wow, that's a large operation. So an organic operation versus a hydroponic operation, what are some of the differences between those?
Well, the main difference there is in a hydroponic situation, our fertilizers or our nutrients for the plant are delivered in solution in liquid form to the plant. In organic, they are a dry fertilizer that's spread on soil and watered into the soil.
Okay. So you're in a kind of a controlled environment in a greenhouse. So you can control things, I guess, like temperature and humidity to some degree, and light a little bit. So that really makes a great environment to grow tomatoes. Now, all these tomatoes that are around us here, they haven't been planted very long, have they?
No, the area we're standing in right now have only been in the soil for about 3 weeks.
Oh, well, that's great. So if a consumer's out there and they're looking at organic tomatoes, this time of the year, they're probably coming from a greenhouse like this.
Absolutely. It's the vast majority of the produce you'd find at this time of year, as far as tomatoes, even cucumbers and peppers are grown in greenhouses.
I've noticed also when you look at those tomatoes in the grocery store and they say hothouse tomato or greenhouse tomato, they're beautiful, perfect, and really flavorful and juicy.
They are. That's and you know, that's the real benefit of being able to grow in a greenhouse, being able to really monitor the nutrients and feed them what's going to make them taste the best.
Well, let's talk to your grower, John, the master grower here, and see how y'all grow these tomatoes.
Great.
Well, we're here with John Secker. John, you're the master grower here. You're the one that's responsible for making sure that these tomatoes produce tomatoes.
Correct.
And keeping them healthy. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, they're amazing. They're really great looking tomatoes. What kind of things do you all do here? I noticed they're not as bushy as a typical garden tomato.
We're growing an indeterminate variety. This particular one is from Monsanto. It's Comet. It's a standard variety. It's been around for about 7 years.
Okay.
And what we do is it's a single stem. We prune all of the side shoots off and continue to grow. And then every week we'll add a clip to support the plant.
Okay.
And the clip will support the plant with the leaf. Every 3 leaves we'll get a cluster, and then based on what the plant looks like, we're going to determine how many tomatoes we want to leave on each cluster.
Okay, so an indeterminate variety is one that just keeps growing.
Correct.
You don't get just a flush of fruit at one time. It just keeps growing the whole season. So these tomatoes will be very tall.
Yes, these ones will be probably by the time we're finished anywhere from 35 to 40 feet long.
Wow. So truly, this is an amazing operation. You know, a lot of people love to grow tomatoes in their garden, and they don't have these big greenhouses and things to do that. What are some tips that you guys use as the big boys in growing tomatoes? What are the kind of things that you could maybe give advice to them?
Everybody that asks me, I always say put a cover over your tomatoes. I think the biggest issue here in Virginia is the summer blight.
Okay.
And that's just basically the plant getting wet.
Okay.
And if you can keep your plant dry, you can do a lot to keep blight off of your plant. The other thing is for the tomatoes, a lot of the grower or a lot of the gardeners, they'll have the split cracks in their tomatoes, and that's basically how much vegetation there is versus fruit load. Okay. So I would take some leaves off, try and balance the amount of leaves per stem.
Okay.
Also the timing of the water. They may start their watering first thing in the morning. The plant's not active then, it's not transpiring then, okay. So you got all that root pressure that's pushing into your fruit that's creating your star cracks. So okay. maybe water around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, those are some great tips for the home gardener. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to come here today and see this operation. It's amazing. It really is.
Well, thank you for visiting.
Great. Well, for more information about tomatoes or greenhouses, please contact your local county extension office. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins, and we'll see you next time.
Taking a look at the ag calendar, a Farming Leaders Conference is slated for Saturday, March 19th at the Blue Ridge Community College. This inaugural event focuses on communication and preparing our farm families to stand up for agriculture. There will be concentrated workshops focusing on communication style, modern communication issues, positive media interaction, and opportunities to hone your technique. Presenters include Dr. Alex White, Matt Lohr, Lauren Arbogast, Jesse Martin, and the Real Virginia Media Team. Registration is required and more information can be found at farmingleaders.com. That does it for our show. Thanks so much for watching and have a great week. I'm Amy Roscher for Virginia Farming.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they work so hard to establish. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, and there's a local Farm Bureau in every county. More information is at vafarmbureau.org.